And beautiful people, gente bonita, ¿cómo están todos? We are here right now on the Blackish Spanish podcast. Much love, peace, and chicken grease. I think that's what they used to say on Soul Train. I forgot. No, it was much love. What did they used to say on Soul Train, Kimberly?
I think it was something like love, peace, and soul.
Love, peace, and soul. That's what it was. It was love, peace, and soul. That's what it was. How's everybody doing today? I'm joined by the lovely Kimberly Thomas. How are you doing today?
I'm doing well. Thank you for asking. And you?
I mean, I can't complain. I got cancer, so I'm joking with you. No, but everything's good over here. Everything's good. I do have work in 2 hours, so that sucks. But it is what it is. Life. I got to keep the bills paid, so it is what it is. So, I guess honestly, even before we talk, I never actually took time to kind of talk to you to learn a little bit more about you and learn like what languages do you speak or which languages you're interested in learning. So I guess introduce yourself a little bit to me and I guess to the people as well, because this will be new to all of us.
Well, my name is Kimberly Thomas. I live right now in Virginia. I am learning Mandarin. So it started with my daughter learning Mandarin, and through trying to have to teach her, I have to learn it myself. So I guess I can say I'm learning a language.
You are going to make a lot of money if you can learn that language. Let me tell you something right now. You are going to make a lot. You're gonna have a few zeros on your check next year. Trust me. I'm just letting you know that right now. Like that.
Well, put it out there. Put it out there.
No. It's a lot of. I'm taking my test to be I'm an interpreter, so I'm going in to be a court interpreter next week, and I can tell you there is a high demand for Mandarin Chinese interpreters right now. Not just in court systems, in medical, and like that's okay. So let's start. You said your daughter's learning it too, and
Yeah, so she's actually the drive behind it. So I always knew that I wanted to attempt to have a bilingual daughter or a child. So when I found out I was pregnant, I was like, oh, great, now's the chance. I kind of like went back and forth
I was like,
between
that
the
was my
chance.
chance. That was just what I said. Now's the chance.
I can do it. I can try. So I went through a bunch of languages, or what I wanted. At first, you'll laugh at this one too. At first, I wanted sign language because I've always wanted to learn sign language, and I tried a couple of times and just never stuck with it. And so I was like, oh, I could do that. But then I was like, oh no, like what if God gives me, like a deaf baby? Nothing wrong with deaf children at all. But I was like, I don't necessarily want that hindrance. So I kind of stopped praying for that, and I'll look for another language. And I decided on Mandarin. So I want her to learn Mandarin, but in order, because she's so young, she can't like go to a classroom and teach, learn it. So I have to learn it in order to just incorporate it throughout our everyday.
Right, I understand that. And what? How are you practicing? Are you using Duolingo? Are you using the apps? Or are you?
So when my stepson, he comes over during the summer, when my stepson was about 4 and my daughter was around 18 months, somewhere around there, I would just play like just music in the background. There's a Mandarin Sesame Street, so I would play that, things like that. So just through that, him watching it, he learned how to count to 10. And, I was like, oh, wow, like it wasn't even like anything I was really trying to teach. And then I was like, well, he's just picking up by watching it. I was like, at this age, we were trying to get her to just, ABCs and 1, 2, 3, just kind of counting in general. And I was like, I should probably start now. So I kind of, started researching and reading and, kind of setting some realistic expectations, seeing who else was out there kind of like this, like you said, like-minded people. And I found a family that was willing to work with my daughter and I. And so that's what we've been doing now for a couple of years.
Oh shit.
So yeah, my daughter's 4 now. She started at 18 months.
Oh, can she naturally tell the difference between English and Chinese, or?
So yeah, yeah, she can. So before it was cute because it was like almost forced on her because she was young. She didn't really know any better. So now that she's like really able to articulate herself in English, it's funny to hear how she responds to, this journey that I've put her on. But yeah, she knows the difference. Sometimes she knows the difference between English and like other non-languages. Like I wouldn't say that she could hear Korean or Vietnamese and Chinese and like immediately pick out Chinese. I don't think she's that strong, but she knows like if another language is spoken. She also knows that what all Asian people look like because she has before like walked up to anybody who she thinks is Chinese and will say ni hao to them. And I'm like, I don't even think they're Asian.
It was like, no, no, baby, they're Filipino. No, that it's a totally different thing. God bless. No, it's no, but I like that. That's how I mean. I always tell people that's how I practice. I speak Portuguese and Spanish, and how I learned
Okay,
it.
cool.
How I learned it was honestly just walking up to people and having conversations. Like I'm 90% of what I learned was just like having conversations with people, like walking up to people at the bank or walking up to people at the taqueria or walking up to people at the grocery store and just be like, hey, what's going on? Hey, what's the price on this? Or hey, do you think this tastes good? Or have you ever bought this before? And your opinion is which is better, Diet Dr. Pepper or Diet A&W? Diet Dr. Pepper, of course. But it was always that's kind of how I practice. And I
Oh, cool.
what's the what you practice in Chinese? Like I guess so a lot of times with people who learn languages, a lot of the time what kept me kind of like because you'll go through hills and valleys where you'll get bored and it'll be kind of like some key motivating things that might keep you going. What were some things that kept you going while you were trying to while you've been learning Chinese? Like the kind of like 'cause a lot of times you'll just lose interest. I think most people will tell you that they want to learn another language, but a lot of the time they might download Duolingo, they might buy Rosetta Stone, but they just lose interest somewhat. How do you keep your interest in it?
I would have to say for me, kind of, I think it's a higher purpose for me because it is for her. So you're right. If it was for me, I'd have quit a long time ago.
you like hell no. Let me put on. You know what? They playing Set It Off on BT. Let me go watch that right now.
There's nothing else to do. But for me, it's her. Also, kind of when I do go through those steps, like, God, is it working? Like, she's not even repeating anything back. Like, I'm just wasting my time and money. I will say I have a best friend who's super positive and like really impressed with what we're trying to do. So she's there that she won't even let me stop. Like I feel like if I would have stopped, she'd fuss at me about it. So I think kind of those two things. And the fact that it is now become just part of us. We have class twice a week. And so it's just part of our routine, part of us. And like I said, I try to incorporate it, like even when we're eating, I just try to put it in. And no matter what we're doing, if I could just say one word or two words, that's my effort that I'm putting towards it for her.
All right. I like that. Like your baby motivates you. Your baby motivates you to keep going with it. I like that. Actually, really,
Yeah.
that's really dope. Has your view of like Chinese, I guess Mandarin people changed a little bit since or?
No, not really.
Well, actually, actually a bigger question. In Virginia, do you even see a lot of Chinese people?
So there are like pockets where I live. There are more. So I live in the city of Newport News, and this is just my general take. This isn't like I have no data. So I live in
You didn't do the
Newport News.
research.
There's a very neighboring city, Yorktown. There does seem to be a higher Asian population in that city than the city I live in. And we're talking about like just a couple of points here. But not necessarily. Like, let's say I would probably say like maybe 14%, something like that. Maybe 20.
That's actually a
So
lot.
it's not a lot. Oh, well, then there you go. It is a lot. I mean, I don't know if when I go places, I don't know if I just run into, Asian families all the time outside of certain areas. So, I mean, yeah.
Yeah, I mean that's more than I thought because I'd always just envisioned Virginia just being all black and white people. I'd always looked at it like that. So it's kind of interesting here they even have an Asian population there.
I think it, historically definitely kind of was. I think with me coming back to Virginia fairly recently, It's a lot of Hispanics here. It's a lot. Like that population has definitely grown, and I'm assuming the
Girl,
Asian population has kind of kept up with it, just maybe not at the same pace. But it's a lot more diverse. But um, still a lot of black people, like in this area.
girl, they're everywhere. Trust me. I done,
We are. Oh, I'm black. We are. We everywhere.
yeah. No, it is what it is. Hell, I done went to some places. I done went to some gas stations and meant when I done pull up some places. I'm like, it's a nigga here. What you doing here? Like, what are you doing in Nebraska? Like, what the hell?
Yeah.
But there's nothing wrong with that. Have you always lived in Virginia?
I haven't. So I'm military. Well, my dad was military. So we moved around quite a bit when I was younger. And then when I became an adult and just frustrated with life in America, I moved to Korea and stayed there for a while.
Oh, sure.
So that's actually what sparked my desire for another language. Like I knew it wasn't something I wanted to do, but I definitely was impressed how it was almost enforced and enforced, in Korea and, when I went other places that they learned two languages. And it wasn't always necessarily English, which I can understand why they pressed English. It was still just other languages in general that I met. So I was like, oh, like, we should try that, here and, make it sustainable. So
what was it like living in North Korea? I mean, South Korea.
I loved it. I went over there. First of all, I don't eat rice, and I don't eat kimchi, and I don't eat almost anything other than like pizza, steak, hot dogs, hamburgers. So for me to go over there, everyone's like, "What are you gonna do?" I was like, "I don't know. I got me some ravioli and peanut butter."
Oh my God, woman.
But I went over there. I loved it. It was I mean, it was definitely some culture shock for some people. It was still a very homogeneous world. Like, sometimes you would go places and they definitely had not seen a foreigner before. And then the black foreigner was just fucking icing on the cake for them.
God bless him.
So, it was kind of like that. And then, if you were in the areas where I lived in Incheon, and then you went to Seoul, it was extremely, Americanized or westernized. And, it was a real melting pot of people from kind of like everywhere that I would have never even thought of that I would meet. So I thoroughly enjoyed it. And, I appreciate that I went over there. Something that was a risk really paid off.
That's interesting. Did you ever encounter any racial kind of tension there when you were there, or was it?
Oh yeah, I was 100% a second class citizen. Like they already had their prejudices that they had, and then they had like outward prejudice, and then they had prejudice that they didn't know was prejudice. Like I had a guy one time argue me down that I was from Africa, and I was like, yeah, dude, I get it. Like I am African, like it's not to say I'm not, but no, dude, I'm from Tennessee. Like not from Africa, but like it just, that, and I think he got very offensive in his way that he was saying it. So they kind of have that racism that I don't think they realize, and then they just have the blatant like, I don't like black people, or there's something wrong with the skin, or whatever stereotypes they've been fed. They truly believe them, and so then they have that kind. But then you have some that are black on the inside and just don't know it. I met a lady there.
The guy arguing down that you're from Africa, that's hilarious to me.
But
the guy arguing
and it would be funny that sometimes we would stand there. So the school I worked at had people from everywhere. And then so as long as your official language is English, you could teach. Mm-hmm. And so he was from South Africa, and he was white, and so, or he was actually from somewhere else in Africa, but anyway, he had moved to South Africa, so he was white. And so the kids would always say like, where am I from? And of course all the Asian kids would be like, Africa. And they'd be like, no, I'm from America. And he'd be like, where am I from? And he's got like an accent, you can tell he's not America, but they don't know. And they'd be like, America. He'd be like, no, I'm from Africa. And their heads would explode. Like, they just didn't get it. But
God bless the
so
little hearts.
That we were there.
God bless them.
It was good we were there to kind of give them that exposure.
Yeah, they need a little bit of culture. God bless them.
Yes.
But it's after living there and coming back here, was it hard getting used to living back here, or?
It was for different reasons, but it definitely was. Over there, it was a very transitional environment, and I went over there as a grown adult. Most people who go over there to teach, one, don't have a teaching background, and two, they're kind of young. They're fresh out of college. I wasn't. I was in my 30s. So although I enjoyed it, it was very transitional in almost everything about it. Everybody was only there for a year, or, they were always extending contracts. There was a military base not too far, so of course that's always, people in and out. So it kind of had that, fun vacation vibe to it. So coming back home where people aren't on that same, vibe, it kind of slowed things down a little bit.
All right, I understand.
It's home, so you get used to it again.
All right, it's kind of getting reintroduced to it a little bit more. Um, If there was one other place you would want to live outside of the country, where would it be?
Oh, I don't know. I'm torn. I'd love to go live like somewhere within the continent of Africa. Just because I am black, and it's like you gotta go. I feel like if you get asked that question. But then there's like some European countries that kind of appeal to me to kind of live for different reasons. So I'm not quite sure. I have to like toss a coin and make that decision.
You already took your ancestry DNA test?
I am not, and I don't plan on it.
Well, it's interesting. I tell everybody you should take it. It's you learn quite a lot about your ancestry. It's very interesting.
I wouldn't doubt it.
Yeah, it's interesting. I took it in I don't know. It's an interesting thing to take. But as far as Africa, I don't know if I live in Africa. I'd stop by, say what's up to people. I'd kick it for a minute. I don't know if I'd live there. If I don't know. There's not that many places out there that I feel like I could kind of be necessarily comfortable in. So I'm like, I don't know if that'll be the best. I don't know if that'll be the best vibe to go to. Now, with that being said, my phone is literally about to die. I do not know why I didn't plan on charging it as much as I could. Is there any way I could bring you back on for part 2 probably sometime?
100%.
For sure. Dang it! I should have wrote some questions down. If there's anything you could tell anybody who's trying to learn a language right now or trying to learn Chinese right now, what would you tell them?
I would say what worked for me was 2 things. As much immersion in the house as I could have. So I've told people kind of like I've color purpled my house. So I have signs everywhere in my bathroom, in the kitchen. There's like just words of food. I have it kind of organized like what it sounds like in my head. So not even like the real way it's written down. It's just what it sounds like so I can say it properly. So, that helped me, just seeing it everywhere. And it gave me a chance to use it. I don't have to memorize it because it's there. So that hurdle was over. And then like finding, like you said, like for me, a habit or purpose for learning it. And when it gets boring, slow down a little bit. But it's kind of like exercise. Just don't stop.
Righteous. I like that. I'm gonna have to try to implement some of that in my next little thing I try to do. Anyway, beautiful people. This was Miss Kimberly Thomas here. Thank you so much for being on the podcast. Thank you for having patience with me. I know I was supposed to actually record with her an hour ago. Now I don't know where I texted like, yo, can we wait a minute? And she was nice and patient, so I appreciate that. Anyway, this is the Black and Spanish podcast, and you guys have a good one.